Good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome to another edition of the Kitchings Table here on Awesome Radio 106.9 WBISLP. We're happy to be with you this morning, and we want you to know that with the celebration of July 4th, things are not looking good in America. Just aren't. So our title topic today is America. Instead of America, America. Because what is wrong with the country when common sense and caring for fellow citizens no longer matters? What is wrong with the country? Would you call it crazy? It seems crazy, seems kind of out of control. However, when you cross that line of crazy, it becomes madness. Mad. You're mad. America, the land of justice for all, home of the free and the brave, the beacon on top of the hill, the bastion of liberty and freedom, the land people ask God to bless, the country known as the United States, is gone mad. Absolutely. When the right to live, although you commit a moving violation, we're watching the celebration for the birth of a nation turns into target practice. The place where lying and alternative facts are less important than truth, or more important than truth, rather. Yet truth is that thing which must be adhered to in a court of law. You know, you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. A society that thrives on winning and fairness. That current path, the path that it's on, is driving some parts and people in this country to insanity. We send our deepest sympathy to the family of Brother Walker up in that part of the country where he was shot down in Akron, Ohio. A tragedy. We send our condolences to those people in Highland Park, Illinois, from the mass shooting on yesterday. Insanity, madness, you call it what you want, but America or America, basing everything on the word mad, is out of control. And what can you say? What do people say? What can you say about situations like this? Once again, a police department is on trial. Police department where those who are sworn to protect and serve step across the line. Their duty to enforce the law. When they step across the line and don't care for the rights of an individual. When not all facts and some assumption, when an unarmed innocent person is being pursued by 8 police officers whose only way to deal with this situation is to start shooting. Someone unarmed running away from them. You have all the equipment, tools necessary for bringing this person under control. You have his car. You know where they live. You can go arrest them at a later day and time. But because the perceived incident of gunfire was made, you thought, or you said a shot was fired, a shot. then the only way to deal with this tragedy is to unholster your pistol and empty your weapons. It was not enough to shoot 5 times, 10 times. 60 wounds, 60 shots hit this young man. 60 shots hit this young man in an effort to bring him in under a traffic citation. Although they say, or this has been said, that a shot was fired and you found a weapon in his car. 60 bullets brought him down. A family grieves, a community in turmoil. Another situation. Protect and serve. That line has been crossed. So what is wrong with America? Last week we spoke about bureaucracy, democracy, and hypocrisy. A week later, a young man is dead with 60 gunshot wounds, and a community just looking to celebrate 4th of July becomes target practice, where 6 people are dead, over 20 people are wounded, a community in turmoil, families grieving. What is wrong with our country? And again, at the heart of this incident on Highland Park, Illinois, is a 22-year-old with an automatic weapon on a rooftop taking practice. When does this country, when does our Congress, when do people who say they're for fairness and justice and right, when do they really get down to the nuts and bolts of doing what's necessary? These automatic weapons must come off the streets. They must not be sold without a license, especially to those who are 18 to 25, because the last incidents have come at the hands of an individual in that particular age range, 18 to 22 now, 18. Again, you need a license to catch fish. No license to purchase and shoot an AR-15 or any other type of weapon of mass destruction, or weapon that's particularly better served in the hands of the military. No license needed. When does the insanity stop? How many children must die? How many people must die? How many people and families must grieve? How many communities must be turned over? When does the madness stop, America? 4th of July, Highland Park, Illinois will never be the same again. Ever. So I ask you, will it happen anytime soon? Does it really matter? Is it just because the money made off of weaponry is that much more important than human life? When does it stop? Again, the conversation goes on. Nothing changes too much. My frustration is that it doesn't seem to be anyone at the top of the class, at the head of the class, i.e. Congress, i.e. Supreme Court, that cares. So think about that. Think about when the next opportunity for this to happen will happen. We're halfway through the year and we're going to deal with a hot summer. How much more? How much more can a country take, a community take, can people take? If people don't want to make a change, the madness will continue. Today, when we go to our pantry section, I don't know how many of you listen to public radio, but that's my meat and potatoes, if you will, for finding out and hearing about what's going on in the world, in this country. And what we'll share with you today is provocative, eye-opening, so engaging. And I'm going to read you the excerpts, but what you need to do is go to the live recording of what we're going to talk about in our pantry section today, because again, it will be eye-opening. And as long as the madness continues, as long as we put off having the real heart-to-heart conversations about the number one issue in this country that polarizes everyone to some degree, we can talk about police matters, Black Lives Matters, whatever culture matters. That's not the primary thing that really matters. Humanity matters. A care for your fellow man matters. But until we address this particular issue of caring, no matter what color you are, no matter what your religious preference is, when we can't really get to the nuts and bolts of conversations about why there's such a dislike for people who are different than us in a country that's supposed to be about freedom, the madness will continue. The next mass shooting is already being plotted and planned, and it will happen at some point in time. As I'm looking at a report about this on the news, I saw a statistic that showed 95 mass shootings had happened. I don't know if it was for the year or since Uvalde, it doesn't matter. 95 mass shootings in a country where something could be done. And as the old saying goes, you don't want to beat a dead horse, but this horse keeps getting up and getting in the race to ride another race. So beating it up may seem like, well, when do we move to another topic? We move to another topic when the madness stops, when people care about what's going on, when children matter more than money. But until then, the polarizing and the you versus me, the my political race party against your political party, that doesn't matter when you go to those funerals. It doesn't matter when a family is grieving because they got to bury their child. None of that matters. So, this is the Kitchings Table here at Awesome Radio, 106.9 FM, WBISLP. Catch us on YouTube, Facebook Live, Roku, GPAC 23. We're here. And again, we're here to bring you what we feel is information of importance, topics that matter, things that make you go, That's what we hear. I'm Earl Kitchings, and I'm happy to always be with you, and sad that we have to have this conversation today based on what has happened over the last week, the last few days, really, So a couple of years ago, it was the community of Minneapolis. There's been many communities. Now it's the community of Akron, Ohio, Highland Park. It just keeps going. And then you equate that with the madness in the world, where a country in Europe being decimated by another country over power. Power plus money equals greed. Power plus money equals greed. And obviously, one country is so greedy, it must just decimate another country. So let's continue to pray for all communities at home and on foreign soil. No matter what the situation is, let's pray for them, because the innocence, and I mean children, the innocence of it all, it makes no sense. Makes no sense. Insanity and madness. Today is just another day. What new madness will happen today? So we bring you our segment, The Pantry, because I have quite a bit to share with you. And this just struck me when I heard it, that I felt that I needed to share with you, just in case you missed it, did not hear it, need to understand where we are. And what better messenger than a child? We tune in real close when a child is speaking, or when a child's action shames us into taking a harder look at what we should be doing as adults. When children shame us into the things we shouldn't be focused on because their innocence, ask the question, why? Why? So in our pantry section today, I bring you some of the spoken comments from the All Things Considered show on the National Public Radio, hosted by Elsa Chang, her show. And the title of that show was From What to the Slave is the 4th of July? What to the slave is the 4th of July? And this comes from a message written 169 years ago by abolitionist Frederick Douglass. 169 years ago, he wrote, "What to the slave is the 4th of July?" And in listening to this, I want you to just pay attention to what the children are, or they're reading his excerpts. But here's the thing. The children reading these excerpts that you can listen to online, go to YouTube, however you need to figure it out to get to it, they're all descendants of Frederick Douglass. But the children are reading his message. So they open up with Ari Shapiro, who's the host of this message. The speech that confronted the glaring hypocrisy of a day celebrating freedom in a country that still endorsed the bondage and forced labor of more than 1 in 8 of its residents. And while the institution of slavery has been abolished, its consequences have endured through the generations. So let me introduce to you those descendants who are children of Frederick Douglass. Alexa Ann Watson, the great-great-great-granddaughter. Douglas Washington Morris, the great-great-great-great-grandson. Zoe Douglas Skinner. And Isidore Douglas Skinner, again, another great-great-great-grandchild of Frederick Douglass. So Elsa Chang starts off by saying, last year, NPR asked some of Frederick Douglass descendants to read excerpts of that speech that she says still troubles the conscience of America. 169 years later, still troubles the conscience of America. So here's what these children read. And it rings so much stronger when you hear them reading, because their innocence of this, they may not understand what their great-great-great-great-grandfather was living through at his time, and why he wrote this speech, and why it was so important that he put these words on paper. Their innocence may not totally understand, but what makes the difference is the fact that their reading of his words ring like the Liberty Bell that sits in Philadelphia, the Liberty Bell. Liberty and justice, home of the free and the brave. So Haley Rose Watson started off by saying, this is the 4th of July. It is the birthday of your national independence and of your political freedom. Douglas Skinner followed by saying, fellow citizens, I shall not presume to dwell at length on the associations that cluster about this day. This simple story of it is that 76 years ago, the people of this country were British subjects. And then Morris read, oppression makes a wise man mad. Your fathers were wise men, and if they did not go mad, they became revested under this treatment. Douglas Skinner continued, with brave men, there's always a remedy for oppression. They succeed, and today you reap the fruits of their success. The freedom gained is yours, and you therefore may properly celebrate this anniversary. Alexa Watson followed with this by saying, fellow citizens, pardon me. Allow me to ask, why am I called upon to speak here today? What have I or those I represent to do with your national independence? Continuing, are the great principles of political freedom and of natural justice embodied in that Declaration of Independence extended to us? I am not included within the pale of this glorious anniversary. Your high independence only reveals the immeasurable distance between us. The blessings in which you this day rejoice are not enjoyed in common. The rich inheritance of justice, liberty, prosperity, and independence bequeathed by your fathers is shared by you, not by me. The sunlight that brought life and healing to you has brought stripes and death to me. This 4th of July is yours, not mine. These are children reading the words of their great-great-great-grandfather, Frederick R. Douglass. You may rejoice. I must mourn. Fellow citizens, above your national tumultuous joy, I hear the mournful wail of millions. At a time like this, scorching irony, not convincing argument is needed. Oh, had I the ability and could reach the nation's ear, I would today pour out a fierce stream of biting ridicule, blasting reproach, withering sarcasm, and stern rebuke. For it is not light that is needed, but fire. It is not the gentle shower, but thunder. We need the storm, the whirlwind, and the earthquake. The feeling of the nation must be quickened. The conscience of the nation must be roused. The propriety of the nation must be startled. The hypocrisy of the nation must be exposed. And its crimes against God and man must be proclaimed and denounced. What to the American slave is your 4th of July? I answer, a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. I'll read that again for you. I answer, said Frederick R. Douglass, a day that reveals to him more than all other days in the year the gross injustice and cruelty to which he is the constant victim. Constant victim. To him, your celebration is a sham. Your boasted liberty an unholy license. Your national greatness swelling vanity. Your sounds of rejoicing are empty and heartless. Your denunciations of tyrants brass-fronted impudence. Your shouts of liberty and equality, hollow mockery. Your prayers and hymns, your sermons and thanksgivings, with all your religious parade and solemnity, are to him mere bombast. Fraud, deception, impiety, and hypocrisy. There is not a nation on the earth guilty of practices more shocking and bloody than are the people of these United States at this very hour. Allow me to say in conclusion, notwithstanding the dark picture I have this day presented of the state of the nation, I do not despair of this country. These are the words of a man 169 years ago, heart filled with disappointment. The 4th of July still doesn't mean that much. We're still second-class citizens. I don't think it's hopeless. Somebody once said that pessimism is a tool of white oppression, and I think that's true. I think in many ways we are still slaves to the notion that it will never get better. But I think there is hope. I think it's important that we celebrate Black joy and Black life. And we remember that change is possible, change is probable, and that there is hope. That is how Frederick Douglass concluded his speech 169 years ago on July the 4th. It is important that we celebrate Black joy and Black life, and that we remember change is possible, change is probable, and that there's hope. Those words read in that video by the descendants of Frederick Douglass, descendants who are his great, 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 great grandchildren, read these words very poignantly, very impactfully. You owe yourself as the descendants of the men and women who brought life to you through their offsprings, who you are the offsprings of. You owe it to yourself to listen to that video clip that can be found on NPR on YouTube. What to the Slave is the 4th of July, written by Frederick R. Douglass some 169 years ago. A man who was an abolitionist during the Civil War. We don't talk about him a lot, but he had the conscience of a nation in his hands. And that speech, I say to you, parallels with the same impact, the same force, the same power that the words of Dr. Martin Luther King spoke when he said, I have a dream, the I have a dream speech. What to the Slave is the 4th of July by Frederick Douglass. I parallel those two as two of the most impactful speeches written by African-American men this country has ever heard. And as we prepare to see the outcomes of the situation in Akron, Ohio, Highland Park, Illinois, as we wait to see what the outcomes will be, as we wait on other situations to see what the outcomes will be, as we wait to see what the outcome will be against a former president who had such a disdain for the outcome of an election because he did not win. We wait on these outcomes to see where the fairness and justice of this country lies. Will democracy stand and live another day, fight another day, provide another day? We stand in 2022. Tears from family members in Uvalde, Texas, Buffalo, New York, and the hundreds of other communities that have suffered. We wait on the country to find the moral compass, fortitude, and integrity to do what is necessary and what is right, not what is politically correct or monetarily correct, to do what is humanitarianly correct, to step up. This is the Kitchings Table. I'm your host, Earl Kitchings, every Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. You can catch us here on Awesome Radio, WBISLP 106.9 FM, YouTube, and Facebook Live, to hear our thoughts and words, to encourage, to make a change, to make a difference. So once again, I implore you to go to YouTube and look up. It's titled Frederick Douglass' Descendants Deliver His 4th of July Speech. And now that we have Juneteenth as a national holiday, and here it is a couple of weeks after that, we must give homage and allow this speech that Frederick Douglass penned and spoke to become a part of the Americana for people of color in this country, because things will continue to go down a path of insanity and madness until people decide that people are important, are valued. It's interesting that the iconic things that this country brings forth to show the world how great a nation we are, from the bald eagle to the Liberty Bell, to the music that we listen to, God Bless America, to the speeches we've heard from iconic individuals, from the fact that we recognize contributors of color to this country and what they've given and what they've done and their portion of helping to make this country what it is, yet still devalued. When we look at all these things, there are those of us who still ask the question, what does it take to be considered fairly and justly? And as we watch a country that prepares to recognize another great advocate of human rights, as they prepare to unveil a statue of Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune in Congress, an educator, a women's rights advocate, a woman who started a college from meager beginnings at Bethune-Cookman University. She will now have a statue of her placed in the Capitol building to acknowledge her contribution to this country. And that is one of the things that helps hope, as Frederick Douglass spoke about, that keeps the hope going forward. As the Reverend Jesse Jackson once coined, keep hope alive. Hope continues to be a part of the dynamics of a people who believe in a country where there is liberty and justice, freedom, peace, love for all. So I share with you that as you go forward for the rest of 2022, take account of what's going on. Don't let these days pass you by where you don't do your fair share to either share some positive words, positive actions, both with others. When the words of children are spoken to us, and as is said in scripture, a child will lead them. Our children are going to be the leaders to take us out of this crazy madness, insanity that we continue to deal with in this country. Children. In my opinion, that's where it's going to come from. Whether they're 8, 18, it doesn't matter. They will become the new conscience of a country on the brink. And if they're able to return a country to some semblance of righteousness and justice, we will be a much better place. We can return to being that beacon on the hill, because that beacon on the hill right now, the light in that beacon continues to grow dim. So we continue to just share our thoughts about how things will change. And the importance of all of this is that we must find a way to make things possible for change. So as we look at the upcoming elections, as we listen and hear the decisions made by the Supreme Court, by governors in states where they want to turn the clock backwards, where there is no care for human salvation, where you hear the false promises of people who say what they're going to do, but they're only doing it for political and capitalistic means. Things have to change. And change begins in the heart. And I hope that we all can find that change agent in us to make things better. Let's go forth in 2022, the rest of 2022, with the hope that Frederick Douglass gave us, and all the other men and women who sacrificed and died for this time in our lives to be what it is. When we can do these things, things will become better. So as we get ready to close out our show today, I want to let you know that hopefully I won't have to come back to you next week with more of this type of messaging. Hopefully I can bring you more energized, synergized, positive news, positive information, positive enlightenment to give you. Because there's so much out there So much out there. There are a lot of positive things going on. And as I got ready for today's show, I thought, well, what can I say that would be more positive? But because of the incidents that are going on, I just felt I needed to share this with you this morning. But going forward, I will seek to bring you the good and positive, to uplift us all, to raise us all up, to hear that new generation of movers and shakers, leaders who will make the difference for the generations after them. Because it is their world, although they may not realize it, it is their world. And when we totally allow them to be the creators of this new direction, we will be in a better place. So stay tuned, because we will always want to bring you the most informed information that we can. Again, our prayers go out to the communities who are hurting at this time: Akron, Ohio, High Point, Illinois. Continue to pray for the community of Uvalde, Texas, and Buffalo, New York. Let's stop the madness. I'm Earl Kitchings. This is the Kitchings Table. Once again, join us every Tuesday morning here at 10 o'clock on Awesome Radio, WBISLP, 106.9 FM. Catch us on YouTube and Facebook Live. Although we're a little short today with our programming, I think the intent has carried us through today's show. So until next time, I'm going to hope that you have a positive rest of your week. Share a positive word, do something good and positive. I often challenge children to ask them, do you know where you get your blessings from? Or do you know how to get a blessing? I ask you today, do you know how to get a blessing? Simply stated and put, when you do something good and positive for someone else, you receive a blessing. The more often you do that, the more blessings you have to put in your blessings bank. May you continue to be blessed, and may you continue to go forward to serve and help someone else who has less or is less fortunate than you. Till next time, Earl Kitchings saying so long. This has been the Kitchings Table. We'll talk to you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.